I want to say, can you hear me well? Yeah? Okay. Melila Hellner Eshed is a wonderful teacher. And I also want to say, if you're not an advanced learner today, you can be an advanced learner tomorrow. It's a process, you know? So friends, let's sit. Let's take our seat just the way we want to take our seat in life. So if you need to adjust anything in your posture right now, is a good time to do so. Let's take a couple of grounding breaths. Just inviting the body to land and the mind to land and the heart to land in this moment. In Hebrew, lasim lev, to place our heart, means to pay attention. Somet lev is the term used in Hebrew today to talk about like mindfulness. Isn't that beautiful? Placing the heart. So let's place our heart in this moment. Let's come fully as we can, with the tiredness if there is, and the anxiety if there is, and the restlessness if there, everything is welcome. Everything is part of it. And so let's bring our full hearts in this moment. And I want to, speaking of heart, I want to place a hand on my heart, and maybe two hands on my heart. As Abu Lafia was teaching, Rabbi Mark earlier invited us, if we had a prayer for ourselves, to place a hand on the heart. And I have a prayer I want to share with you, and I hope you can share it with me. It's a prayer for Jews and Israelis about what's happening in Israel. And it's not political, it's existential. It's wanting brothers to remember that they're brothers. Just a prayer that we may remember that we have a unity of destiny, and that we may find the strength to overcome sinat chinam, gratuitous free hatred, and really commit to leheov, really, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, loving the other, the fellow, as ourselves, including the one we disagree with. Including the one we disagree with. Disagreeing, having to make decision, standing for something is very important. It doesn't have to come with hatred. So that's my prayer as we prepare for Pesach, for our tikkun, right after the Seder, we start, counting the Omer, litaher et atzmenu, litaher et nafshatenu, to really purify our souls. That's my prayer. So we'll sit quietly for a couple of minutes with our own prayer now, each of us. For ourselves, for each other, for Am Yisrael. Before we go into the teaching for tonight, just sitting with our prayer. As I'm feeling my heartbeat with my two hands on my heart, I'm connecting to all the heartbeats of people around me, to all our heartbeats, to the heartbeat of the world. I was just sharing with students earlier in class that Pesach is both very individual, very personal. Like really, it's about our own Yetziat Mitzrayim, exodus from Egypt, in a Hasidic sense, where Egypt is really just our place of constriction and darkness and inner exile, exile of awareness, as the Me'oranim calls it. So it's both very personal and also completely communal, something we do together. The Pesach sacrifice had to be eaten whole by people, gathering one family or several families, like you would do it together. And when we sit together, because each of us here in this Zoom, in this moment, we have this kind of deep awareness of the importance of collective energy, of collective intentionality. And today in the little teaching I'm going to offer, I'm going to talk about Ratzon, which is sometimes translated as will or desire. And here Rashi understands it as actually intentionality. And as we were sitting quietly like this for a few instants, a nigun came to mind. It's a song by Yosef Karduner on a small excerpt from the Amidah of Shabbat. And speaking of purifying our hearts, it says, "V'taher libenu le'avdecha be'emet," and purify our hearts so that we can serve you, God, life in truth. And then give us in heritage your holy Shabbat. Be'ahava v'ratzon, with love and with ratzon. So I think it's matim, I think it's appropriate for this moment. So I'm going to share this nigun, maybe you know it. V'taher libenu le'avdecha be'emet ve'anchile'enu Hashem Elokeinu be'ahava u'beratzon Shabbat kodeshecha v'yanuchu bam kol Yisrael Kaddish et shemecha. This pasuk is connected to Shabbat and the idea that in this Shabbat we will rest, all of Israel will rest. And in a couple of days we'll have Yom Tov followed by Shabbat, and so we'll have a deep space to rest. And I really wish you perspective if you're rushing through your Pesach preps, embracing this bigger vision of the kind of dance between chipazon, like haste and energy, and zrizut, the energy we put the urge in preparing so that we can actually after rest deeply together. So friends, let's take a breath. I'm going to share my soul sheet. And I want to share a commentary by Rashi. By the way, you don't have to open your eyes. Like if you feel well in your meditation, you can just listen to my voice. We're not doing an intellectual process right now. So really feel free to keep your eyes closed and to kind of receive from within, or to look at the soul sheet, your choice. So this is the Torah reading for Pesach, for Shabbat, from Vayikra, Parashat Emor, talking about special korban, which is the Zevach Todah, Korban Todah, the Thanksgiving offering. And it says, "V'chi tizbechu Zevach Todah L'Hashem, l'retzonchem tizbechu." When you kind of offer the Thanksgiving sacrifice to God for your own, so l'retzonchem, for your own desire, for your own will, you should do it. And then another thing is, it should be eaten on that day. Do not leave it over until the morning, which may be one of the reasons why it's read on Pesach, because the Korban Pesach was also to be eaten on that day, nothing to be left until the morning. And there's this question, you're doing an offering, you're doing something that is not for you. Why should you do it l'retzontcha? Why should you do it for yourself? Right? And that's a question that Rashi asks. He asks it in a broader commentary. It's actually a long commentary on Beyom Hahu Yachal. But then he brings the question of l'retzonchem within this commentary. So this is, I focused on it, and he gives a couple of explanations, and that's the second explanation. Sometimes Rashi does that. He says something, and then he says, davar acher, and something else, by the way. Here, very, very short, very short. That's the beauty sometimes of Jewish wisdom. One word. L'retzonchem, l'daatchem. What does it mean to say you're going to offer this for your own will? It's actually for your own awareness, for your own dat, knowingly, consciously, mindfully. And then he develops and he says, so much so that if you offer it like this, without intentionality, even if the animal itself is, fit, it's pasul. It's considered unfit for a kodesh, which is an animal that's been slaughtered, that's been offered as an offering. But what I want us to keep is this. Right, we're doing an offering from a place of that, from a place of awareness. And this is really the intention. I'm going to stop sharing now. The intention I want to offer us as we're cleaning our homes, which is a deep, deep, deep process of really embodied awareness. That's what it is, right? We're performing. What does it mean to cleanse? What does it mean to really clean from excess, to really, really clean, to really kind of purge, to empty in a good sense, to make my home lighter, to make my heart lighter, to make my body lighter, to make my soul lighter, right? Not inflated, not thick from the chametz. What does it mean when I do this process? What does it mean when I'll sit at the seder table? Can I be fully here? Can I really, and I really want to invite you to see the seder not as something we do before we get to eat. It's a ritual. It's like a real, spiritual experience. And my invitation for you, I don't know what type of seder you have, but if it's long, take a nap in the afternoon, eat in the afternoon before you go, so that you're really, really present. You're really enjoying. So friends, let's come back to this moment now, and let's sit l'retzonchem, l'retzonenu. Let's sit with intention, l'datenu, for our own awareness. Let's cultivate our awareness. Just this, we'll just sit quietly. We'll let the trains of thoughts do what they do, which is come up and move and pass and flash thoughts and memories to us. And we'll just settle in this kind of quiet, deeper, still place of awareness that is underneath all of that movement, and that can see all that movement happening. Let's sit with an intention of holding space and witnessing our experience as we sit quietly. And again, sitting, we're not trying to be quiet. If the mind is agitated, that's perfectly fine. That means it actually needs the space. All that matters is to stay. Is that just to keep showing up, to stay still, and to keep holding space to our experience. And I place my heart and I offer my most beautiful presence right now for this last couple of minutes of the seat. I want to conclude on the Niguna song earlier because I find that sometimes there is something that goes deeper when we hear a melody for the second time. לעבדך באמת, והנחילנו השם אלוקינו, באהבה וברצון, שם בא בפסח קודשך, וינוחו בם כל ישראל, וקדיש את שמך. Prayer that we may have a Pesach of liberation of the heart, liberation from the illusions of the mind, from hatred and all the illnesses coming from the ego, real liberation, individual and collective. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Thank you for a beautiful practice. Let's get ready to say Kaddish with Rabbi Mark.
Thank you so much, Rabba Mira. Friends, we seal this beautiful practice today as we do each day by offering an opportunity for those of you who are in mourning or observing yahrzeit, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, you are welcome to do so, and to put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat box now or after we recite Kaddish. And if you're not reciting Kaddish, just to stay present, offer your supportive, loving presence for those who are, create a minyan of comfort. And thanks to Kat Esposito, who's holding our space, as always today, so beautifully, and for sharing the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on the screen. If you're reciting the words, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal, Shemei Rabba, Divrat, Yalich, Chayechon, Udyomechon, Uchaye B'chol Beit Yisrael, Agala, Kariv, Yehesh Rabba Rabba, Brach Yolam Olamei
Itadar V'Yetalev
Shalom B'Nolav, Yoko Yoshe Tevel,
Amen.
Amen.
Better your day.
Shalom.
Where's it? It was
And
art.
thank you so much, as always, for joining us today. And I want to thank Kat Esposito,
Oops.
as always, for holding our space, and our teacher for today, Rabba, Dr. Mira Neshama Weil. Thanks to Kat for sharing the link to Rabba Mira's source sheet today. If you could also put in the chat a link to Rabba Mira's offerings. For those who are not aware, Rabba Mira is offering a morning what's called the Hashkata practice, and maybe Mira, you'll say a little bit more about it when we have a conversation in a moment about what that is and how people can participate in that, and also a program on the weekly Torah portion through the eyes of the Hasidic master. Also, just a reminder that we are meeting live just for one more day until after Passover, that is. Tomorrow, Yiska Smith will lead us in practice, and Rabbi Josh Fagelson will be hosting. So I'll take this opportunity to wish everybody a sweet, restorative, and meaningful Pesach. Hope you have a wonderful holiday. I look forward to seeing you on the other side as we move into the Omer. We'll be back live a week from Friday to sit into Shabbat with Rebecca Schisler. So Mira, Rabba Mira, I'll bring you back in. Thank you so much. As always, just feels like we're really so blessed, Mira. Thank you so much to get a chance. So why don't we start with, saying, if you don't mind, just sharing a little bit about this Hashkata practice and what it is and how people can participate. I think it would be such a wonderful opportunity for people.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, Hashkata is a Hasidic meditation technique. Some of you are very familiar with it. For some of you, it may be new. Taught by the Piazetz Rebbe. We believe it came from way before him, but just the kind of last written source we have is from one of the students who were practicing with him in the 1920s in the Warsaw ghetto before World War II. And it's one of my favorites, Mark. It's one of my favorite meditation techniques because it brings together very different techniques. So it's a multi-step meditation. The end goal is tikkun midot. So it's like ethical work, musar, work, healing our character traits. That's what tikkun midot means. And the end goal of this is actually to basically unification with the divine, to be one with God, with life, with the ego being kind of faded away. Hashkata means quieting. It really is the quieting of the ego, but just as a first step, so that then we can kind of cultivate, just like in positive psychology, kind of nurture the good seeds within us. And so the first stage is very much like mindfulness. Literally, he says, watch your thoughts. It's insane. Watch your thoughts. And then connecting to a pasuk, a verse, so that we can, work on the transformation from that place of like connection with this kind of energy, the divine energy, the energy of the source of life. That makes sense. And then we move into something that looks very much like prayer and that looks very much like mantra practice, because you repeat a pasuk you don't repeat a pasuk over and over again. You actually repeat sentences, just like Hasidic masters would invite us to do in our own language. That's very important, in our own language, our own words, kind of close to Hitbodedut at that stage, because you're just voicing what you want, what you need. And I think it's so important to have a space in prayer and meditation for something that is not instructed, but that is coming from the depth of your soul, And the type of prayer is a bakasha. So, we have different types of prayer. And this type of prayer is just like requests, asking, please, help me embody patience and help me embody, equanimity, and help me nurture within me the seeds of compassion and help me, And just like in positive psychology, we don't work on pushing away what we don't want. We work on only nurturing the seeds of what we want. And so because it's so dear to me, and I find that, we need to kind of bring traditional Jewish meditation closer to people's everyday lives. So we've been doing a kind of a challenge in the month of Adar. We've been doing like morning meditation pretty much every morning, with like a Sunday longer session with Q&A and a teaching. And we're doing it again, like in April. I'm not sure the format is going to stay the same. That's kind of like a kind of boot camp to do it every morning. But it's if you want to kind of build your practice or like deepen your practice, or if you need support, like it's and it's 7:30 a.m. both East Coast and West Coast, because I think that's a time that people don't really get like guided meditations online, and I think for some people it's very helpful to have it before they go to work. So thank you, Mark, for
No, thank you. Really, it's a tremendous offering, and I think to have, like you just said, to have something as a morning practice, to have that as an option. We almost by happenstance wound up with this time for this particular practice, which in some ways works well because it works, the morning for West Coast, and you can you can participate in Israel, and people participate. But other than that, it's for a lot of people, it's not so convenient, and which is why we're glad we're able to offer it recording. So this is a wonderful opportunity. I want to thank you for that. So we don't have that much time, but I want to ask you this. This might be a little personal too, so if you feel free not to.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm going for it.
You go.
We all have different experiences, of course, on the holiday, right? And not everyone has quite the spiritual experience on Passover or the Seder that they might wish for, right? And you pointed out that, and what Rabbi Miriam did last week, Miriam Margles, took a different part of this of the Haggadah, basically, of the Seder, to go deep, and it was just a really powerful, wonderful experience. I personally felt like, wow, it would be so wonderful just to have a Seder like that, a sitting Seder, right? Just to like go through this with people who are also practicing it. Doesn't always work that way, right? So this may or may not be personal, but partly it could be in the way of advice. Partly we could be like, I'm just curious, like, what's it like for you when you go through the Seder? Do you have this kind of experience? Do you have the space? Do you do it with people who are kind of on the same wavelength? And for people who are not, for people who say like, let's just get to the meal, or like, we have the four, with the four children, the four attitudes, really, right? And not everyone is so, shall we say, into the deep inner meaning of the Chag. So what's your advice there?
First of all, thank you, Mark, for putting it on the table, because I think we actually put a lot of pressure on ourselves when it comes to Chagim in general and to Pesach in particular. And I'm just so glad you're just like, let's talk about this, and let's talk about how
it's not totally theoretical. Let's just say I have some skin in the game here too. Yeah. I'm interested to hear what you said.
Yeah. So I'll be very honest, and I'll share, what's happening for me in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very lucky the past years to have extremely meaningful spiritual sedarim, so seder, with people who were really like-minded, and we were in the same mindset that really the seder is the main part of the evening, not the meal that comes after. So literally, as I said, in the meditation, we would, sleep in the afternoon, eat before we go. And when everybody is there and present, and everybody would come with different agadot, so that everybody would share different insights, and we would really ask questions and discuss and reflect and share. And Pesach was very personal. We all have patterns we want to get out of. We all have our own Egypts. We all have things we want to break through from, and so talking about it, it's such a deep experience, so I've had that. Okay. Now I'll share with you what's going on now. I got married. A step family. I have in-laws. Sorry. I adore them. Not everybody's like me or my friends. Okay. So I'm going to be with a huge Israeli family with a lot of children. Okay. And we already know what it's going to be like with my husband. We actually already talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
His rabbi, it's funny, he was telling me, so first of all, just so you know, we said to ourselves, we're going to prepare before, we're going to set an intention, we're going to meditate before, we're going to learn after, we're going to go and study Torah after, the meal after everything's over, we're really going to, and his rabbi kind of also said something that's very important. His rabbi is Kabbalist, Chassid, student of the Rav Scheinberger and stuff, and he said, even more important than your spiritual experience is ahava, is loving the other. So respecting, and sometimes it's your spouse is not on the same like wavelength as you are, your parents, your kids, and more important than your own spiritual experience is the connection with them. And there is a way, and I think it's up to each of us to kind of find the way, because actually there is great spirit. He didn't say that, I'm saying this, but there's great spirituality and healing and inner work in connecting to others, especially when it's when it's connecting through differences, like a bell, mamash, receiving the other as they are. And I think this would be my recommendation for everyone here. Inspire others as much as you can. Hold space. Suggest things and do it ahead. Do it before the Seder. Start talking about it. Start, share resources. Send, I get dot and guided meditations and for whoever is receptive. If you see people are not receptive, don't go into feeling superior. Everybody's where they are. Everybody, and then just connect. And then if you need to do your own thing, if you need to kind of like, find other ways to have your experience. And by the way, you could have your experience. You could do Pesach Sheni with friends, with like-minded friends at another time. Pesach Sheni, by the way, is an opportunity for, according to the Torah, for people who couldn't do the Korban Pesach because they were like not in a state of Tahara that they could bring a Korban. So they would do it after Pesach. So, I think we can always work around our life conditions. And that's the spiritual practice, is to work with what we have and to stay connected, That would be what
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that's a ton of great Eitzah of advice there. And I guess I want to tack on, probably just by way of my own kavanah for myself, is because I see some people said, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, like it's so crazy. Like there's no time for kavanah, right? There's no time for intention. What has really helped me, I think, is having the awareness that even if the kavanah is there, the intention is there, very, very briefly, like in the moment, it just like 10 seconds. So for example, and with all the rituals of the Seder itself, which many of them have to do with like the maror or the dipping the karpas into the, to really take a moment and to taste it, to taste the maror, taste the charoset, taste the matzah, really have a moment that is not dependent on others' participation, but to have that experience and to let, I was going to say, both Miriam Margle's beautiful teaching last week, be call it to mind, use that as your own kavanah. And also your teaching today, Mira, about that, all the purpose here is for the sake of increasing awareness. And we can do that anytime, no matter how crazy the Seder is, right? No matter how chaotic it may be, no matter whatever, it's like just a moment of awareness of that, of, this isn't exactly the way I might wish it to be. Have a moment of awareness, and then, to practice what you were describing of ahava, right? I'm going to choose love, right? In this moment, kind of answering my own question. So I want to thank you for
that was great.
holding up the mirror there.
No, but I want to thank you for reminding us about like the importance of like these minuscule moments of coming back. Like we have to lower our expectations about ourselves and about awareness. It's impossible, to be mindful all the time. That's the practice. And even even a second, that's so precious. So thank you for reminding us of this.
Thank you so much, Mira. Always really zechut, and really a bracha, a privilege and a blessing for us to get to be with you, practice with you. So I want to wish you really Chag Sameach, meaningful, really deep Chag with your family, and to everyone here also. Aziz and Pesach, a beautiful, sweet, and one that really does, in fact, move us from a constricted awareness to a much more expanded awareness that we all need to meet this world. So thanks to Kat, thanks to you, thanks to each of you for being here, and many blessings, everyone. We'll see you soon. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your kind words also in the chat.